What is going on YouTube? Welcome to the Living Freed channel. My name is Tyler Freed, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to know whether you should make the leap from company driver to owner operator. And the reason I'm making this video is because I just recently got a comment. Somebody asked me, hey, I'm thinking about becoming an owner operator. I currently make $95,000 a year for a company. I work local, and should I make the switch? Is it worth it? So I thought that was a really good question and a really good topic for this video, because a lot of guys are actually, a lot of people, guys and gals, are in the position where they're thinking they make really good money, but they're thinking about maybe making that switch to owner operator. I'm going to talk about my criteria, what I believe you need to have in place in order to be an owner operator, and not just become one, but be successful as an owner operator. And when I say success, I mean more successful financially than you were as a company driver. I'm going to talk about how to get started, the way to get started, the best way to get started, and then like I said, just the position you have to be in order to have long-term sustainable success, and whether to know whether it's worth it or not. So if you're new to the channel, I appreciate you for being here. If you're somebody that is looking at getting into trucking, this is a good video for you. If you're somebody that is already in it, but again, you're thinking about making this leap, or at some point you maybe want to be an owner operator, this is the video for you. So make sure you stay tuned till the very end. And I would appreciate it too if you would like the video, sub to the channel, or dislike it if you dislike me. Either way though, help engage with the YouTube algorithm and help grow this channel by doing that. I would really appreciate it. So don't worry, I'm going to get right to the point. So to answer this person's question, what I have to do is answer it based on not knowing your personal situation. All I know is that you make $95K a year and you work local for a company. So what I always recommend, and this is what I personally did, and this is what I believe to be the way to go about being an owner operator. Okay, first and foremost, can you make more than $95,000 a year as an owner operator? Absolutely you can. So the financial question, to answer your question, is it worth it? Yes, it can be worth it. You can net like more than that, even after expenses. If you do what I say, you could make $150,000 to $200,000 a year as an owner operator if you do what I say in this video. But if you don't do what I say in this video, and you do what most people do that go into the business side of trucking, the risk is way too high and the reward is not really worth it. Okay, so what do I recommend? What do I personally do? Number one, you have to answer this question. Are you debt-free personally? Number one, are you personally out of debt, excluding your mortgage at your house? Are you out of debt? That's the first thing. Not can you pay cash for a truck? No, are you out of debt? You need to get out of debt. If you are not, you need to get out of debt. And do you have a 6-month emergency fund, personal emergency fund? And if the answer is no to both of those things, you should not become an owner operator. I don't care if you have the money to do it. You shouldn't be an owner op. You need to be out of debt and have an emergency fund of 6 months worth of living expenses. Any money you have above that 6-month emergency fund, then that can be put towards buying your first truck and becoming an owner operator. But why do I say that? You're going to think, oh, that's crazy. Why would you tell people to do that? That's going to take too long. Well, here's why. Because when your truck is in the shop, and it's not a matter of if it's in the shop, it's a matter of when and for how long and for how much it's going to cost you. When it's in the shop, you still have bills to pay at home. And so you don't want to have to use business money. You don't want to have to use your reserves in your business to pay those bills at home. You want to be able to use your personal reserves to pay those bills at home. You also need to have that emergency fund so that you're not going into debt on the personal side to cover those unforeseen expenses on the personal side. Again, it's not a matter of if you're going to have breakdowns and downtime. It's a matter of when and for how much and for how long. That's the truth about owning a truck. Now, should that scare you away from becoming an owner-operator? No, but get that in place first before even thinking about that. If you don't have that, then don't even do it, because it's not going to be worth it. You're going to be constantly digging yourself out of a hole if you do it, if you put the cart before the horse, okay? So get out of debt, have a 6-month emergency fund. Above that, save for your first truck. And then what do I say? Save for your first truck. You need to be able to pay cash for a truck, okay? Whether it's newer or brand new, newer used, old truck, whatever, you need to have, and I would recommend at least get a newer used truck, something with like 350 to 500,000 miles on it. Anything above 500,000 miles for your first truck, I would probably steer clear of that. That's my personal belief, unless you know how to work on trucks yourself and rebuild engines, or you have the money to rebuild the engine. That's another thing. But I would recommend you buy a truck with 500,000 miles or less. That way you can get a 2 to 3 year extended warranty, and that warranty will cover the engine, after treatment system, transmission, things like major things that you need covered. Because when you buy a truck, you never know what's going to come up. You never know if in the first 5 months that engine's going to blow, or the one box is going to go, or the transmission's going to go out. You never know. So at least have that warranty when you buy that truck for at least 2 years. That way you can make all your money back that you put into the truck, and you can build up reserves for when the warranty expires. You can cover things like a transmission or engine rebuild or a new one box, catastrophic things. So one, save up, pay cash, get a extended warranty. And then number two, you need to have an emergency fund for the business. I recommend $20,000 to $30,000 emergency fund for that truck. Now, if you get a truck and you don't have a warranty, you don't want to pay for that warranty, okay, you might need a bigger emergency fund than 30 grand, because a rebuild is going to cost you at least $40,000. So if you don't want to pay for that, that warranty, some guys don't want to do that, and that's fine, but do you have the reserves to cover the catastrophic events that may occur with this equipment? You never know when that's going to happen, or if that's going to happen. It may not. But what I like about warranties is that you have that peace of mind for at least a couple of years when you first own that equipment, right? And so, but you need to have an emergency fund above that. Even if you have a warranty though, I still recommend having $20,000 to $30,000 per truck. So if you have 1 truck, 2 trucks, 10 trucks, each truck needs to have its own emergency fund. Why? Because a lot of these warranties don't cover everything. There are still going to be things you got to pay for and have reserves for, like tires, like, a wheel seal leak, replacing all the different components to the suspension, right? You just never know what's going to happen with this equipment. When you're driving these trucks every single day, hauling 40,000 pound loads up and down mountains, hitting bumps in the road, you're going to have to put money into maintaining that equipment. And the reason I say to do it debt-free and have an emergency fund is because when you first start out, like I said, you never know if in the first 2 months you're going to have that transmission go out. You never know what can happen. So you need to have those reserves beforehand. And also too, when you're down, it's not like working for a company. When your truck is down and you're in a hotel room, do you have money? Does your business have enough money to pay for your hotel expenses? You should be paying for those hotel expenses out of your business account. Okay, you should be able to cover the downtime and the repair and all of that with your reserves. You should be able to do that. It's very hard to do that when you have truck payments. It's very hard to do that when you don't have money, you don't have cash. Please, the first thing you got to do, in my opinion, is set yourself up for success long term. That's what I'm telling you right now. So I'm answering his question, but I'm answering really everybody who's thinking about this. look, I know that what I'm saying may take a while to get to that point, to be able to pay cash, have reserves, all that. You may have to save up $100,000 and be out of debt. But if you don't do it that way, you're going to end up like 90% of the people who become owner operators and start a trucking business, and that is going out of business. Every single company that goes out of business in trucking has been over leveraged. Look it up. Almost every single company out there, large or small, has been over leveraged and didn't have enough reserves. I'm talking about the financial part. You notice I haven't even brought up rates or any of that, spot market, contract freight. Haven't brought up any of that. Your finances, you need to be a lean operation personally and in your business. Be debt free. Why too? Because when you're down and in the shop for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, guess what? Your occurring costs, you're losing potential revenue. You're losing $5 to $6 a week in revenue. You're paying hotel expenses. But if you add a truck payment on top of that, I don't care if it's a $500, $200, that's an added cost. So when you come out of the shop and you get your truck back, you're going to be digging yourself out of an even deeper hole, because those truck payments are accumulating no matter what. The bank wants their money, and you're going to have to pay that on top of the repair and the downtime. Moral of the story, you need to protect yourself against the downside. Business is about playing offense, but it's also about playing defense. And especially in a capital intense business like trucking, you got to have these things in place. If you don't, it's going to be very hard to survive the tough times. And the tough times are various different things. The tough times are being shut down because of breakdowns, being shut down because of weather. The rates are low. Freight is slow. There's so many different factors. You need to be a lean operation. Moral of the story, you get what I'm saying? You need to be lean. So to answer your question, should you quit your job making $95K a year, driving local, I assume being home every week, to go be an owner operator? Well, are you debt free personally? Do you have an emergency fund? Can you pay cash for your truck? And do you have an emergency fund for that truck? If you do, then the next step would be, okay, now I got my finances in order. I can set myself up properly financially and withstand the downtimes. Now you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to get my customers? You don't want to do what the majority do and just go and depend on spot market freight. I would not do that. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Maybe at first when you're first getting started, you're depending on brokers for your loads, and that's how a lot of people get started. And nothing wrong with that. You can be profitable and you can make it through that. But in the long run, your goal should be either having connections with brokers, like, where you're not operating off the spot market. You have their direct phone number, you've built a relationship with those brokers, and they're giving you freight that's not posted on the spot market. You've built relationships, moral of the story, so that you get better, high paying, more consistent freight. Either that or get your own direct customers. That's the absolute best way to go, is go directly to the shipper and get your own customers. Get as much of that as you can, and then fill in the gaps with spot market freight and brokered freight, right? But that's what you want. You want to get long-term, dependable freight. You don't want to chase rates. You want to chase decent rates, but consistency is important in trucking. You want to be able to do projections of revenue, projections of expenses and net profit. It's hard to do that when you're depending on the open spot market that fluctuates all the time. The companies that are successful in this industry, the owner operator, like I said, small one truck to thousands of trucks, the ones that are the most successful in this industry are financially set up, like I told you, and also they have a lot of direct customer freight. They're not dependent on the spot market for all of their freight. That's the key, man, is consistent customers. That's in any business. Trucking is no different. You got to build relationships, make connections, and you will do a lot better. than the majority if you do that. Okay, and then after that, you have to decide. Okay, say I'm set up, I have my finances in order. Say, you've got your plan is to go get more long-term dependable customers to get your loads. All right, after that, you need to decide, all right, do I just want to use this income to invest into the stock market or invest in real estate? Do I want to add a second truck and grow a fleet? You need to figure out your long-term plan, because, okay, let's say you're making really great money and you're an owner, and if you're debt-free and have an emergency fund, if you're set up like this, I will tell you, the truth is, you're making $95K a year. Well, you can make $150 to $200K a year, yes, net, after all expenses. A debt-free owner-operator that runs full-time and, is really good at what they're doing, they can net $150 to $200K a year, 100%. So you could pretty much double your income. But you're going to have to do what I said in order to do that. So is it worth it? Yeah, it might be. What are you going to do with that extra money? You're making pretty much, let's say you're making $100K and you become an owner op, and now you're making an extra $50 to $100K. What are you going to do with that money? Are you going to invest it in stocks? Are you going to buy real estate? Are you going to add a second truck, grow a fleet? You have to know your long-term plan with the money you're making from being an owner op. If you're just going to make more money and then take it and blow it, you're going to end up out of business, even if you're debt free. You need to have a plan. When you become an owner op, and a lot of guys make this mistake, they'll become an owner operator and then they'll think that all that net profit is theirs. That shouldn't be the case. When you become an owner operator, you need to have a salary that you pay yourself as the driver, and then above that is the profit. What are you going to do with the profit? What are you going to do with that? That's where you can set up your future with being an owner operator. A lot of guys, though, they go from making maybe $2K as a company driver to $3,000 to $4,000 as an owner op, and they take that extra $1,000 to $2,000 a week, and again, they go buy stupid stuff with it, and they don't put that money to use. They don't buy assets. They're not planning ahead, and that's shooting yourself in the foot. If you do that, money management is everything as an owner operator. You got to know how to manage money. You got to know that. That is one of the most important skills, is just your discipline with your money. So to answer your question, if you are set up and you have enough money to go do it, I think it can be a great thing. But if you aren't out of debt, don't have an emergency fund, can't do it in cash, and don't have an emergency fund for that equipment, 100% keep your job. You have a really good job. And if you're somebody just like him, where you're making $90,000, $100,000 a year, and you don't want that, don't give that up. Save your money. Use your money from your job to set yourself up financially. And when you have the means, the financial means to actually pull the trigger and do what I'm saying, then make the decision. But if you do it the way I say, you have a high success rate. If you do it the way most people do it, which is they save up $20K and go put down on a truck and finance 90% of the value of the truck, don't have reserves, operate solely on the spot market, don't have a plan for how they're going to manage their money and what they're going to do with the profit. They're just winging it. If you do that, you will be bankrupt in less than 2 years, or either that, or you'll just go out of business, one or the other. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it, because you need to have a business set up for not just times, where the rates are great. You need to be set up for when the rates fall. You need to be set up for when we're in a recession. You need to be set up for when things happen, because they will happen. You need to be a lean operation. Moral of the story: if you can't do that, do not become an owner operator. It is not worth it. It takes a lot of capital to sustain a trucking business, whether it's one truck or multiple trucks. And how do I know that? Because I own 6 of them, and they take a lot of money to keep on the road and turn a profit. It does. This is a very capital intense business, 100% it is. And again, like I said, you need to have a low cost of operation and a sound financial position in order to make being an owner operator worth it. That's my video for today. I really appreciate each and every one of you for watching. If you have any more questions about the owner op game, feel free to ask in the comment section below. But that's my video for today. God bless. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos like this in the future, and peace out.